Hello, Black Student Success Tribe. This is Miss Drea, Miss Andrea, Miss Amafadon coming to you with another video on Black Student Success. So, shout out to those who's been watching the video, who's been sharing, who's been liking and subscribing to the YouTube page. Don't forget to subscribe to Brown Girl from Boston YouTube page and go down to Black Student Success. So we are on episode 6 and I'm so excited. I'm just like, yes, we are like moving the message, pushing the message because we want, Black students to be successful. Me being a first generation Black college student, went to undergrad school, went to graduate school, and just learned some, skills and development along the way. And why hoard information when the information is for free and someone took the time out to share with me? So I have my phone in my hand for a reason because students, they love their phones. They're like, oh my God, my phone is my everything. They rather plug in their phones, make sure it has enough juice in it than drinking water. But the reason why I have this phone in my hand too is because this is a tool that you can research the things we're going to talk about today, which is enhancing your skills. A lot of times you guys get notifications. Parents, they get notifications when it comes to social media, when it's time to get turned, when it's time to get litty. But this tool I want you all to use to research, to do your Googles, to do your due diligence on how to enhance your skills. So we're going to talk about skills, the top 5 skills that students lack when it comes to, workplace or just being holistically successful. The number one skill that students lack is critical thinking. I don't even know if they even teach critical thinking skills in school. So critical thinking, which is AKA problem solving. Anytime you are, adulting in full life, you have to learn how to problem solve. You have to learn how to have some type of results. So, you know how to navigate life, you know how to navigate the workplace, navigate relationships, whether it's intimate relationships, whether it's a friendship. So you have to learn how to problem solve. So I always like to say you have to have plan A through Z. And a lot of times students put their eggs in one basket. And it's not to pick on students. Also, to a lot of adults put their eggs in one basket and thinking it's gonna pan out, like I'm good with critical thinking. But you're really not. You have to learn how to pretty much navigate barriers, navigate things that are right on the job because things happen on the job and you have to prioritize and say, okay, what, results do I need to, have today? We're not talking about tomorrow, we're talking about right now. So, think about how you're going to learn how to problem solve. That's number one. And I'm going to give you guys the website to go to this too. See, I have my phone out. Number 2 skills that students also lack: paying attention to detail. A lot of times, students, especially in this era, even adults in this era, they don't observe. So you have to learn how to observe, look, not be like gawking and gazing. Sometimes you have to really observe and be multitasking, be able to listen. Because when you're able to listen, you're able to pay attention to the detail. Be able to sometimes close our mouth and listen with our 2 ears and truly listen, actively listen, but okay, take notes. And I'm talking about with the pen and paper, not with your phone. So I'm talking about, let me get my crafty tools out here. Get you a pen and paper, sticky notes. I have them all over the place. And really pay attention to details because a lot of times details are given to us. Sometimes people give too much details and we miss out because we're talking, we're on our phones, we're not paying attention. We don't know how to actively listen. So here's a tip on how to actively listen. Sometimes you just have to be like, okay, and really focus. Pay attention to what that person is saying to you. Eye contact. If you don't understand, if they're not clear, maybe they have a different dialect because they're from a different part of the world. They may speak a different language. English is not their, first language. It may be their second language. Ask questions and ask them to repeat themselves. And some people, they don't like that. But in order for you to be successful, period, we want to make sure that we're listening. See, hearing is like, oh, yep, Am I really listening if I'm looking all over the room and I'm not looking at you? No. So you have to be able to actively listen. And like I said, make sure that you're being direct with your questions, they're being direct with their communication, and that you're able to, understand that. So here goes another thing. That was number 2. 3, which is my favorite, I being an adult for some years now. This drives me up the wall, but I love communication. Communication is key. Communication can make or break a situation. Communication is not just only verbal, but it's also nonverbal. So I always tell people to get your nonverbal cues up. Because a lot of times, body language, people, can communicate in a lot of ways without verbally telling you, right? Sometimes we have to listen to the tone. A lot of times we have to listen to the tone of people. Like if you know your parents, if they call you, I know if my parents, if they call me Andrea, and it sounds like, kind of like makes your skin want to crawl off. I know it's an important message they need to convey to me, or like they're correcting me in a certain way, or they need my attention. Like we talked about number 2, communication is key. So one thing I noticed while working with students will be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. They'll communicate what they're gonna do, but don't follow up on the communication. So what do I mean by that? They'll say, "I'm gonna make an appointment with you, Mr. Maffedon, to come see you, to do a mock interview," and they are nowhere in sight. They don't call me. They don't text me. They don't even send me a message via social media, and I'm sitting there waiting. If you know that you had an emergency come up, you're going to be late, whatever the case is, all I'm asking you to do is to communicate with me directly and concisely. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out for me. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out message. Communicate, hey, Mr. Maffedon, via text. If you don't want to call me, I do not want to do this mock interview anymore. Whatever the case is, it could be simple to the point. Boom, my feelings is not going to be hurt. I'm not taking it personally. Thank you for communicating that with me. But a lot of times, on this list, it says nothing useful can ever get done unless information is communicated clearly to everyone involved. A huge part of communication is not only doing it in the first place, it's also knowing what situations call for which type of communication methods. So, what do you guys think they mean about communication methods? See, I know you all, once again, the social media era, that's one communication, but that's not communication that everyone uses. And also, too, that's not a communication that is always going to be used in the workplace. Yeah, you may have Slack, you may have Asana, you may have different communication methods in the workplace, and you have to figure out the workplace culture. Even if you're doing business with somebody, you have Skype, you have Ring Central, you have Zoom. So you have to understand what type of communication is going to be used. Don't assume that somebody's a texter, especially if they're a baby boomer. And some of you all probably have grandparents who's baby boomers who do not text. Like my parents, they're baby boomers and they text. But texting is cool, but I also want to have that human connection. I want to also hear their voice. I also want to hear, okay, are they okay? Because you can hear a lot in the tone. Remember, I was talking about tone, the diction, even like feeling the energy, whether or not, they're communicating is authentic. Like I said, social media is cool, but there's no emotion behind it. Like when people slide in your DMs or whatever the case is, yeah, you may get emotional about it, but it's nothing like that face-to-face contact, right? So make sure you know what your communication style is. Make sure if you are an over communicator, cool. I'd rather for you to be an over communicator than not communicate at all. Make sure your word is your bond. As we said back in the day, your word is your bond, and that's you going to stand on your word and you're going to follow through once those words are spoken, once is wrote down, because written communications, we do a lot of it. Emails. Let me get to the email point. When you're emailing your professor, someone professional like myself, I expect you to have a certain type of diction when you email. Do not shorthand. Make sure you know how to professionally write a email. It could be quick to the point. Sometimes it depends on if your work culture do the shorthand, if your school do shorthand, cool, but learn that. Don't just assume that, oh, I can do shorthand and people understand, because a lot of people do not understand when it comes to shorthand communication and professional communication. And also to use the jargons. It's okay to use professional jargons if you know them. If you don't know them, ask about them, but make sure that you're professional. And you have also too, where I can get in contact with you at. Make sure you're spelling the person's name right. All that stuff counts. So that's also going back to paying attention to detail. So make sure you learn how to communicate, right? And that's a practice. 4, which is tying into communication, is writing skills. Oh my God. Like now people have the devices. People don't do pen and paper. I do pen to paper before I write anything, when it's pertaining to, let's say, doing an outline for a podcast that I do, doing an outline for blogging. With emails, I'm pretty good at, like, okay, let me just crank out this email, but I also too check my email, my grammar, punctuation, also to make sure I'm not, sounding crazy out here, or shorthand. So I check that I'm professional, and that's okay to have that. And so it says, why is it important? No matter what kind of work you want to pursue, effective writing is a must. Whether you're writing a cover letter, a blog post, a business proposal, or an email, you need to know how to make a point and make it well. Some people are long and drawn out, and you're like, oh my God, just get to the point. Some people get to the point. Some people miss out on the details, and you're like trying to fill in the blank. Make sure that you are clear and you're getting to the point when it comes to writing. And it says employees aren't saying that the new hires need to be the next great American essayist, but is a common, a basic grammar and written etiquette too much to ask. So these are the complaints that people who've been adulting longer than you are having in the workplace. And not just in the workplace, just even if you're going to start a business, you still need to know how to write efficiently and effectively. Sometimes to write to move people, to tears, sometimes to like write so professionally that you may be telling someone off in an email, and then that they have to say per email, because people are catching on to when you get these attitudes and being snarky. Learn how to really professionally write. I always say black and white. When you put anything in black and white, that's pretty much like a contract. Like, once again, you are standing on your word. You're standing, behind what you said, and you can't take those words back. So also to think. So that's like an honorable mention. Think, not be a reactionary. Think before you even write, an email or whatever the case is. If you're in the heat of the moment, you're upset and you're trying to retaliate and go back and forth. I'm like, I'm about to say what I gotta say. Do not send the email. Chill. Wait. This is a good one too, and I think this is the last one on this list here. And like I said, I'm gonna put the link in the article. Ownership, accountability, responsibility. Even folks who's been adulting longer than you have a problem with taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility for their actions, for their energy, for being who they are. I always tell people, when people get ill, I can use the slang get ill with me, or have some type of feelings, and I may not, cause that or trigger that. They have to take ownership of that. Miss Andrea do not, because I didn't cause you to have an attitude, and I didn't cause you to take things personally. Now we're having a disagreement, and if I say something that was out the way, I'm going to take ownership of it and be like, you know what, my apologies if I, didn't follow through on what I was supposed to do, if I said something to hurt your feelings, whatever the case is. Ownership is key. A lot of students don't want to take ownership. Like, when I talk to students like, yo, did you apply for XYZ? See, what happened was, Mr. Mathadon, no, take ownership. No, Mr. Mathadon, I did not apply, but you know what? Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to apply right now. And they actually do it. But if you're giving me all these excuses and you're like throwing your ownership onto someone else, no, that's a big problem, and you need to take ownership. So listen to this. The final skill, ownership, tied in with leadership for 5th on the list of skills employers feel recent graduates don't have. I choose to include the former instead of the latter because there are numerous books, articles, and presentations on leadership, but very few on ownership. In fact, I'm willing to bet that most recent graduates don't know that means in the context of a career or a job. Taking ownership of your work means you feel that taking any kind of action having to do with your work is responsibility. That having anything to do with your work is your initiative, even when working with others. That old cliche about one person doing all the work in a group project while the others barely contribute is about ownership. The person who does the most work knows that doing a poor job will reflect poorly on them, so they take ownership to ensure that doesn't happen. When you take ownership, you're displaying that you're dependable and you're trustworthy. Let me repeat that. When you take ownership, you're displaying that you're dependable and trustworthy. When you take ownership, you hold yourself accountable for the outcome of a project. So you want to make sure, if you want to be a leader, especially moving up the ladder, just being a leader in your life or being a boss, whatever the case is, you have to be able to take ownership and responsibility. So when it hit the fans or hit the fan, can you take ownership and take the blame or take the accountability and responsibility when things don't go the way it's supposed to go, especially if you're a leader? Because the leaders are always going to get blamed. I don't care, you could be the dopest leader ever, but you're always going to get blamed for something. Are you able to take that accountability and responsibility and ownership of it? Are you able to take ownership if you did not complete a project or didn't you know do your FAFSA form or any type of scholarship form, and the deadline is today, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it today and turn it in tomorrow. No, the deadline's today. And when you don't get the money or you don't get the funding or you don't get the position, can you take ownership for it? Let's bring it to relationships. We all love relationships. We all want to feel belong. We all want to be loved. Can you take ownership of something you did in a relationship to cause the relationship to demise? Your attitude, you may be cheating, you may be doing something crazy out here, but can you take ownership if that person is like, you know what, you did X, Y, and Z, and I'm done. And then you're like, no, I didn't. And in your heart to heart, you did. So taking ownership is key to being a successful, holistic person. I'm not just talking about work. We're not just talking about workplace. The videos are also talking about life too, having that balance. So you have to learn how to take ownership. You have to learn how to communicate. You got to learn how to, be a boss and really learn how to write, have writing skills. You got to learn how to think for yourself, which is problem solving and critical thinking, right? And you have to learn how to pay attention to details and speak up and speak out when things are not falling into place, but also taking self inventory, because as Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. Not, oh yeah, I know better and maybe I'll do better, and cut corners. We're not about that life, because as being Black Americans, we don't have time to cut corners. We don't have time to not enhance our skills or, just think, oh, I have time. We don't have time. Time is of the essence. Time, we only have today. We only have this moment. So thank you all once again for watching Black Student Success episode 6. I hope that I shared some really good tips on enhancing your skills, enhancing your just life skills, holistic skills, period. If you like the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, share this video, tell your friends, tell your family about it, tell other college students about it who needs some advice. So don't forget to do all that. Don't forget to donate to one of your favorite Black nonprofit organizations, to your favorite HBCU, because hey, without preserving our Black history and legacy, we will not have that. People are trying to erase it each and every day. Please donate to the channel, because we're always looking for donations to give 100% to the college students who are in need of internships, housing, basic necessities to survive and be Black students successful, right? So much love and light to you all. Peace.